But I'm not going to talk a lot. I just want to go ahead and welcome everybody and introduce Actionnel Fleurisma, his wife Yolande. We're so excited that you're here. And Melissa Hoffman, who is the Executive Director of Ewo, which is the Child Sponsorship Program. So what we're going to do is I'm going to let Melissa take over from here. We're going to do a question and answer session and with them, and then we're going to open up to questions for the audience. So thank you, and I hope everybody enjoys this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just want to say hi, everybody. My name is Melissa. I'm the Executive Director at Ewo. We help provide a platform to connect families in the United States to families in Haiti through a student sponsorship program. And so we're really excited to be here with you guys today. And we've prepared kind of a list of questions for Q&A with Actionnel to try to kind of get the conversation started. And then anything that you guys want to ask after that, please feel free. We'd love to answer questions. And obviously, Actionnel has a lot of really amazing things to share with us about what's happening in BNA, cool projects and things that are going on there, and what's happening with the student sponsorship program. So I'll get started. So right off the bat, Actionnel, is Haiti ever going to get better?
I don't know if this is the best way for me to start, but however, let me greet everyone who is here this morning, and I thank you so very much for coming. I would like to extend a very special word of thanks to Mr. Kent Musa, who was very much working to see if we could have access to a generator. And then generator got there at the end of December of this past year on 60 kilowatts, very powerful diesel generator. That generator does not really drink the diesel, he just smells it. So, thank you so very much. I know that $23,060 came from this church over here just to help us with the generator. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, good morning, Melissa. Thank you so very much.
I was jumping to the meat of it. I got a little excited.
Thank you so very much for your question. Yes, Haiti is going to get better. We need not to work hard. We got to have determination. We got to know where we are going. We got to remember where we came from. We got to be faithful. And of course, it's going to get better. Not by overnight, but we got to be optimistic, be faithful, be strong, not get discouraged, and move forward. Yes, it will.
I love that. That makes me really happy. For those of you who've been to BNA, you can attest that it is a community of hope and of love. And so we hear a lot of negativity in the news when we actually do hear news. But if you've been there, you can tell your neighbor who's sitting beside you that it is an amazing community. So Actionnel, what is your role at OFCB?
Maybe I have no role at OFCB. Except that, if there is something great that took place, everybody will feel good about it. But when there is something bad happen, I will be the only one to take all the blame. So that might tell you, my role there. Just the guy who received all the blame, I'm the bad guy. So I don't know, but sometimes people call me actions, frère action. Frère action means brother action or pastor actionnel. Since I also teach French and English, they would also call me teacher actionnel. But actually, unfortunately, so far I have been the main guy. They call it CEO or the general director. They would give it all kind of names there. But I am just a brother there. That's all.
I think it's probably a little bit more than that, but
No, but I like being around people, just do things together. I like to be a little bit pushy, make sure that it is done.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had the good fortune to meet Helen Hunter this week and have lunch with her, and she calls him Action. And I asked her, why does she call you Action? Why do you call him Action? And she said, because he's always the one that gets it done. So I thought that was very appropriate. Okay, so let's talk about the school. What are your top 3 goals for the school, for the ICB school?
Well, number one, we would be glad to see that this school is self-sufficient. Self-sufficient in a way that we could be able to make sure that we have access to provide uniforms for all kids there. And also to have means to pay our staff, on a monthly basis. To do that, we would love, to see if we could have at least 100 kids being sponsored at the school.
We already have 100 kids.
About, I mean, 1,000.
Yeah.
Sorry, at least 1,000 out of 2,357 that we have. We are asking for less than 50%. We would love to see that happen. Number two, we would love, to have a wall around the school. We need a wall, a concrete wall, because the whole country is getting more and more fragile in terms of safety. And so I think we need to protect, the compound more. Number three, we would love to have a testing center. The testing center, the plan is to transform the church sanctuary into a worship place and a testing center. We would like to have, a second floor where the worship of the church staff would take place, and the first floor to have, desk, so the kids, could have a better place, just to take the test. For those who have been to bio there, you see the benches that we have inside. So those kids would be sitting there just to take the test. We are sick of it. We would like, to have desks for the schools. So sponsorship, a wall, and the testing center. Is that clear enough?
Yeah, did you guys get that?
I hope so.
Perfect. So in talk of sponsorship, how does the support of sponsors and donors impact the students, the parents, and the community in Bayanang?
Well, I might give you, what I would call a first-hand experience. In 1984, Ellen Hunter, whom Melissa and I met, this past week, went to Haiti, and then she sponsored me. Nobody really could tell where that was going to lead. But she sponsored me all the way, from 10th through 13th grade. After 13th grade, she and her husband, Ernest Hunter, brought me over to go to school. Just one person. But now I just told you that, presently we got at the school 2,357 kids. So one person that you sponsor might do a lot more in the future. So we should not underestimate what you are doing, because Helen had to do that for me, because my parents, mom and dad, could not really do anything to help me out in school. They were broke, very poor. And then we got tons of, financially poor families in that community, in this country, especially right now in Haiti. Just a big crisis going on with exchange rate. In the economy, so like 25 or 26% of what is that?
Inflation.
Inflation rate there, about 26%. Just a big mess. A dying country. Yet we have hope, we have faith, we are moving forward. So doing this sponsorship is giving hope and a dignity, a future to a child. You are just, sowing the seed. You cannot tell, what that will bring forth in the future.
That's awesome. And Helen is definitely a very special situation. Our sponsorship program goes through 13th grade. That's the last grade in Haiti. She went above and beyond and helped him through college. And so we are never asking anybody to send anybody to college, but some people do have the opportunity to do that because they are fortunate enough to have the means for that. And so just to clarify, we're not asking anybody to send anybody to college yet, but given that, I just think that's such a great example. The story I heard is 105 kids under a mango tree when this all started in 1994.
94, yes.
And now over 2,300 kids in 3 different campuses, which I just think is an amazing testament to what, when one person puts their mind to it, what they can do. So I love that. That's just one of my favorite stories. Okay, so talking about the school, what are some of the challenges that the school is experiencing right now? What are the biggest challenges?
Goodness, we got space problems. So with the changes that the Ministry of Education has brought, into the education in Haiti, every day we got, the classes from 10th and through 30th grade that have to come to school in the morning. Whereas, we got, about 800 more kids from kindergarten to 6th grade to be on that same compound. For those who have been there before, you can understand, you can imagine how difficult it is. In 10th grade, we got 56 students. In 11th grade, we got 148 students. In 12th grade, we got 111 students. In 13th grade, we got 81 students, plus almost 900 from K through 6 to be on that same compound. It is just no big headache. We need the space. We need buildings, unfortunately. But it is a good problem to have. When I remember that when I was at school in Bayonne in 81, 82. So in my class, there was 6th grade. There were only 8 students, 1 girl, and then 7 boys. Okay, when we started the school in early 90s, in 6th, 7th grade, we had only 20 students, but now we got that many students, and then with out of 2,350 plus, 52% of them are girls. Whereas in the past, girls would not really go to school, only a few boys that would go. So this is a way for me to tell you that what I think the ministry is doing there is a kind of revolution. Revolution is not always done with physical weapons, killing or shooting, but we can use brains also just to make it happen. Silently, peacefully, but surely and straightforward. So this is exactly what I think we are doing there. Yes, we need that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so talking about students, what's a typical day like for a student at ICB?
Well, not always easy, because when we got a staff which is very demanding, you got to do better, do better every day, a lot of pressure. But we got students that would work on crossing the mountains from long distances, just working to come to school. Sometimes 3 miles, 4 miles, even 5 miles one way to come and also to work back. And then there are children that sometimes they would come to school with no breakfast, no whatsoever. The rice and beans or beans and rice that they would get to in school sometimes might be the only meal for the day. And then I can identify with that because I remember when I was in 9th grade in 1984, I fell down 3 times because of starvation. So we would be fed 3 days in a week. Because of that, we had to make a fraction 3/7. 3 days you ate out of 7, 3/7. So this is how a school day will look like and for a student in the community. But no, they would just keep coming, but they would enjoy just to see the food there, the kitchen open. One thing they would always say, if they got there and then they see the doors of the chicken closed, they would say, oh, there is no school today. I would say, what do you mean? Well, they said that Maurice is the director, the principal for the kitchen. They said that because the principal Maurice is not in operation. Therefore, there is no school. So, so this is how it really look like there. Yeah.
And the kindergarten, actually preschool through 6th grade, this is speaking to the space problem, but they go to school in the morning and then 7th through 13th go to school in the afternoon. So now with the new regulations that the Haitian government has set on the older grades, we're experiencing shortage in space because they're not only going to be there in the afternoon, they have to come earlier in the day. So that definitely presents a challenge. So here's a different question for you. What does your day look like?
My wife can tell you all about it. She might kick me out of the house one day. Just my phone is always my computer. Just be on my computer, my phone, all the time.
I can attest to that after spending 4 weeks with you.
And then even though I would be in bed, but my mind I would just keep working 24 hours a day and trying to, especially during times of crisis, no fuels and no kidnapping would be very strong everywhere. You got to be worried about the kids and being kidnapped because they know that if they kidnap a kid, so the whole school, the whole ministry would need to be behind of that just to get that kids out of the kidnappers. So it has been very, very strange almost every day and every night. So this is why that our sleeping hours have been very, very short. If a night that we got 4 hours of sleep, I think that would be very great to do that. So I think every day is a challenging day for me personally in the country. Sometimes I really look like I'm not really a husband, but I'm just somebody with my wife, but not a husband, because there would be too much going on through my head, unfortunately. But most of you here are wives and husbands. I'm sure that you got a feeling of what I'm trying to say. That might be enough for the moment. Thank you.
Got it. Got it. Okay. If you had one wish to be granted for the school, no limits, what would it be?
What do you mean?
If you could pick one thing, you could wish for anything you wanted for the school, what would it be? You didn't have any limits. Nobody said you only have $10 or 20 minutes, no limitations. What would you pick to be a wish for the school?
Can I combine that one now with anything? It should be just one.
He's always negotiating. Absolutely.
I would say World Testing Center. Okay. World/testing center. Just one combined word.
Got it. Got it. So one of your top 3 goals is also your wish. Perfect. I love it. Okay. So a question that I receive a lot when I come and talk to groups about sponsorship, what are other opportunities that exist for students that don't go to college? What are the other options that they have once they complete the 13th grade, they complete and successfully pass the national exam, and college is not in their future? What are other opportunities that they have?
They have been going to professional school, what I would call trade schools. Just to learn how to become a mason, like construction, big skills, learning how to lay tiles. I remember there was a group from this church that I went to buy there one day. They were trying to lay tiles. I don't think they were doing a good job. I don't remember if Reka was there. I don't really remember that, but with Katie Crow. So we had the two consultations that took them. They agreed that they would carry water to them, carry water to them. The patients were doing the tilings. So I think that was really great. Yes, they can learn about electricity. So there are many things that they can learn. Just know how to get a job, just to manage their own lives there.
So not unlike here. Some kids go to college, some kids
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
trade school. So awesome. That's good. That's good to know, because I get that question from groups a lot about what are the other opportunities. Okay, what are some of the past graduates from the school doing now?
What are the past graduates?
So other people, like students that have graduated, what are they doing now? Can you talk about, maybe give us a couple stories of a couple people?
At the schools, I say schools because we got 3 of them. There might be another one, number 4 in the future. I hope. And we got to do that. We are doing it already, but not officially, but privately. At the ministry, we got 240 employees. And I believe that more than 80% of those employees were at the school. They graduated from the school. And then if you go to the bank, we got a community bank, not Wells Fargo or Bank of America. A bank that we founded in February 2004. But I think we got 5 employees there, and then all of them were students at the school. At Ewo office, which was called the Word of God, we got 4 employees there. All 4 of them were at the school. And then at the clinic, I believe that only Dupiton and the junior were not at the school. All the rest of them, was at the school. So what next? I believe that, almost everywhere you would go, even in the Bayonne community, if you see the businesses or schools or whatever it might be, those employees were former students, from OFCB. So I don't know if that is enough, but this is a way to let you know that the OFCB ministries has really impacted the whole Bayonne community, 80,000 people. So wherever you would go, you see anybody doing anything, those folks would be former students from the ministry. Is that fair enough?
I think it's wonderful.
That's the answer.
I love it.
Okay.
And the cool thing that I think about that is that not only did these students go to the school and graduate, but I can't think of a better word, but like the moral compass that you guys instill, combining the church with the school, makes them want to come back to their communities and invest in their communities. And so I just think that's an amazing part of the ministry that you're building there. And so thank you for that. It's amazing because the 4 that I work with, Olga's still there, Evelyn and Presley, they're all amazing, amazing kiddos. And I can't say enough nice things about them. Okay, how about the clinic? How's the clinic doing?
The clinic is doing pretty well, I should say. I'm sure that some of you may have heard of the story about the clinic. I came into this country for the first time in 1987. It was at the time when I was exposed to dogs and going to the doctor. I had never seen that before in my entire life. And I was not a child. I was not 23 years old. I was in 11th grade and going to 12th grade. So the family I was with had a Chinese pug by the name Ping Pong. Ping Pong with a flat nose, brown eyes, very big, always snoring dog. And then that dog had an eye infection. And then she took some Kleenex to wipe it off. That was weird to me. I was watching because I had never seen that before. And then sometime later, the dog came again. And then she said, oh, my dog is sick. I'm going to take him to the doctor. I said, what? She said, my dog is sick. I'm going to take him to the doctor. I replied and said, do you mean you have doctors for even dogs in this country? Oh, yes, actually, we have doctors for dogs and doctors for cats. Dogs and cats are called pets. The doctors are called vets. So I'm going to take my pet to the vet. I wept a lot. I was not weeping for a dog going to the doctor, but I was weeping for the fact that a dog in this country had a better lifestyle than human beings back home. So I left the food, lunch on the table that day. I went to my bedroom, and then I wept a lot. And after I said, no, that is not fair. We got to have a medical clinic in Bayonne in 1987. 25 years later, in 2012, the clinic was born. Since then, the clinic has been there doing great things, doing birth control, taking care of the people. We know that medical help does not prevent people from dying, but of course, medical help helps some people live longer and live better. We have no pretension to prevent people from dying, but the goal is to help them live longer and better. So the clinic is doing just wonderful, seeing patients 5 days a week, and then even on Saturdays and Sundays at night, and then there will be emergency nurse around in case there is a problem. just for them to go to that a nurse for care to be taken care of. So I believe that the clinic is another history in the country. But guess what? The dog has been used by the Lord Jesus Christ just to open my eyes to know that a medical clinic was needed in Bayonne. So I don't think dogs are going to heaven, but God can use them to make miracles.
It all started with the dog named Ping Pong. Okay, talk about the agronomy program. How is it doing?
The agronomy program, in a country where we need to count on rain to make things happen, it is not really easy. In fact, more than 95 people in the 95% of the Haitian population in my community need to count on rain. But specifically with the climate changing, when we do not get that much of rain, it is just a mess. But however, we are trying to raise fryers and layers, which have not been doing too well because of the inflation. Just to buy food from those people who would sell you the chickens, would buy a chicken for $13 more US, and after 2 years, they cannot really produce that much of eggs, and the food also is very, very expensive. Those same people who would sell you food and chickens, they also do the business. They are also in competition with you. So you have been kind of a slave, to them. So now what we are trying to do is to have a kind of a better strategy than just to raise chicken. So last weekend, the weekend before, we were somewhere in Georgia. So where we have been in touch with people raising chicken. We want to know how we could make our own food for those chickens, so that even if we would need to buy it from them, but not to buy the food, from them. So at the end of this trip, we will be, in Florence, where there are many people there at First Place of Florence who raise a lot of chickens. We are hoping that we could ask Vilat, who takes care of the chickens there, if he could come over to be with them for a couple of weeks, just to see exactly, how to do that, just to move forward and to make a profit out of that. So the last group of chickens that we had were, fryers. Layers. We had to sell them after they were not able to produce eggs anymore. So the money has been kept somewhere around. So once, now it is good enough, so we can just buy chickens again, just go there. So, but for the to grow food in the back of the clinic, would grow rice there, would grow beans there. I don't know how much, they probably this week, hopefully, those who are in the group to get financial reports for OFCB, you probably see how much beans and how much stuff they grew from the garden. And then the things that would get from the garden, it would go for the school to feed the kids as well. So it is there, but the school is, the agricultural program is not doing better than the way country is being operated. They're the same thing. Country of problems, the agricultural program of problems as well.
Thank you for that. I want to leave a little bit of time for you guys to ask some questions. So I have one more. We briefly touched on the generator project. What are some other recent major projects that have been completed in the last few years?
Oh, a lot.
Right?
A lot.
Tell them about it.
A lot. And we are so blessed, so encouraged. Before we came over, there are many church people that would be asking, not only to say greetings to everyone, but also they would be asking if some of the church friends and then have died from the COVID-19. I get lots of questions like that from the people in Bayonne. I would say not what I know of, not what I know of. Well, this is a way just to let you know that people are not only praying for you, thinking about you, but are also grateful for what you have really been doing, even when there would be COVID, and then you would not really forget about us. Thank you so very much. We have, I cannot tell how many musical instruments that we have bought just recently, but now the school is working on a band. Okay, that the funds will come from y'all over here. And then we right now are working on a roof, new roof for the kitchen, make it higher, but longer and wider. So to feed that many kids there, nearly 2,000 students, every day there. So the ladies need more space. Of course, it was my wife idea to do something with the kitchen.
Yes,
It would be like hell on earth when you go there. Those people cooking. So they are working on it, and then so I think they finished with the roof yesterday. They finished with it, and then hopefully tomorrow they will have a little bit of concrete to pour and then to do on the floor, and the kitchen will be available to the students, to the cooks again. And also, Haiti is a country where fuel shortage is a way of living. So last January, we had to shut the school down for 2 weeks because there would be no fuel in the country, no fuel. But guess what? You have helped through the sponsorship program, build a 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel tank there. It is in operation. The fuel is there. So now I have heard that they are talking about long lines of people waiting, trying to get fuel in the country right now. Right now, the 9th of April 2020. So I had to send the message to Organs, Alderin, and Kindle last night, saying that I have heard over the news that there is a shortage of fuel again. Please make sure that the 3 guys that we have at night on the compounds to watch over the fuel that we have there, because we don't want for people to go there at night and to steal on the fuel. So that is just a wonderful thing that you have really made happen there at the ministry, okay? And also the generator. Oh my goodness, just life and changing. We are so grateful. Once again, thank you. And also you just keep people at the clinic, people at the schools in Nicolas, Zoranger, and the main campus, you keep them having a job, keep them putting food on their table to feed their families, and then to keep doing their job, teaching. Thank you so very much. Thank you. So grateful.
Well,
We will
love you
always
very
be.
much.
Thank you.
We do. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask?
How's the second bridge coming? I saw that they were pouring some concrete on it.
The second bridge, I don't know if they have opened it to the public yet, but they had to pull the concrete, although it took too long for them to do it.
Right.
Just procrastination, just laid back people. That is something from international NGOs. So they wait for them to do it just to waste the money. But I hope that, except that I think it was too short. I would expect for them to make it longer. So I hope that when the water comes, it would not really get stuck there and then to wash the bridge out. I hope not. But I would expect for them to make it a little bit as long as the one that you all built. But that has not been the case. But however, the concrete has been poured. I hope that very soon they will open it to the public. It was great. And also the bridge that Kent went there to help out with it. So we are creating history instead of studying history.
If you wanted to say something real quick.
So just wanted to touch on sponsorship. I'm going to head out to the table, but I just want to tell you really quick how I found M&S, or maybe how she found me. I went to visit actually on my very first time, and he was showing us around, and this little hand come up and got my finger and walked with us the whole time, walked us all around. And so at the end of our time, and Actionnel says, we're going to go back to the guest house. And I said, well, Actionnel, what do I do with her? I need to return her. And he goes, let go of her hand, Missy. And I said, no, I need to take her back where I found her. And he said, let go of her hand. She'll be back in the morning. So I let go of her hand. She went off. She was back in the morning. She was back every morning, waiting on me when I got up. She walked me everywhere I went. She followed us no matter what we did. I walked her over to the Ewo office and I said, this is who I want to sponsor. And she was 3, so she was the right age. And so she got into school and she sponsored, and this is my M&S now at 10. And so she's my buddy. And so she and I have been together all these years. So I just wanted to tell you that it was easy for me to find my sponsored child because she come up and found me. But I have a table out there that has lots of folders on it. If you need help finding your sponsored child, I'll help you the same way M&S helped me. So I'm gonna go out there and you guys are gonna finish up. And so anybody who's interested, come see me at the table.
Thank you, Missy.
And we'll be there after church as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Anybody else have any questions for Actionnel? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a child that's five, and he's 15 years old. But he looks like he's about 8 years old. And I was wondering if there's some way we could help out malnutrition. Obviously, it's more weakened without malnutrition.
The child is 15, but she looks like, 8.
Very small.
What is the name? You cannot. We would like to do some research about that to find out. Okay, we need to do some research to find out what it is, what is happening, and then from there you can stay in touch with Melissa, give her the name, and then we will do some special research on that. Okay, and then after the May 4th, you will know about it. Okay, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, we go back on May 4th.
Anybody
you.
else have questions?
Just a big picture question for the group really about the school. Because the school is wonderful with so many students now, but there are kids that don't get to go to school too. And it's helpful to know of the children who are eligible to attend school in BNA, how many are actually able to attend school? And then the second part is how many are sponsored right now? You know, the 2,500 figure, I'm not sure if that includes your outposts, probably not.
It does.
It does.
That's maybe down a little bit. And so maybe you can help give us a picture of that as we think about sponsorship.
Well, I'm going to answer the first part, and the second would be left with Melissa. We are in a society of social disparities. I think this is why that we have, mountain people, city people, Black people, white people. I don't know what I am myself. I know that I'm Asian. I know that I'm going to heaven. I don't think that they are blacks or white or yellow or gray. I think that they are Christians in heaven. I don't care. Where we are, we have really been trying at the very beginning to avoid what we call the social disparities. Nobody should be left out. This is why it is so hard always on this school. So we would not really let a child going around because for the fact that the parents might be poor would make them be in school. Make them come to school, give them uniforms, be there. Why? Because if you take only the 15 or the 20 that you got who can come to school, they can pay for it, you take only that group. How about the 85 that cannot really go? So those who cannot really go would become very dangerous to those who are going. But to make sure that we keep the country at peace, we keep the community at peace, we got to make sure that no one should be left out. Because if you don't really do that, there will be chaos, there will be fight, there will be guns, there will be shooting and killings everywhere. So the outdoors are open for every child. Sometimes parents would feel embarrassed to come to ask. We got a group of people in the community, the group of parents. We have a parents committee, a parents board to make sure that no children around should be left out. If the parents cannot really do that, we got to come with a way just to make sure that they come to school. This is a way just to keep peace in our community. So that is my answer for the first part.
That's one of the things that I really love about this mission is that no child doesn't get to go to school. Every kid gets to go to school. For Ewo, we have 581 right now that are sponsored of the 2,357 students that are in school. So we are able to provide funding. The dollars that the $40 a month, not only helps facilitate a personal relationship between you and that student, it goes into a larger pool that helps feed the operating costs of the school, paying the teachers, putting diesel in the school bus. And so what we lack in terms of number of students sponsored, our partnership with Friends Empowering Haiti, they also contribute to that operating budget. And so we're able to make sure that everybody gets a uniform, everybody gets food, everybody has access to all. We don't ever want any student to feel left out because they don't have a sponsor. We're able to provide funding for everybody by partnering with Friends. When we get to 1,000 students sponsored, we have the ability to take over a lot of that to help so that Friends can do bigger and larger projects for the community. And so that's why he's always used that 1,000 students as his goal. And we're almost 600, you guys, holy cow. We've never had that many kids sponsored. And so we're thrilled about it. And so does that help a little bit? I mean, that's one thing I love is that everybody gets to go to school and they make it work.
It's First Press sponsoring right now.
First Pres right now has 37 students sponsored. And I have 18 on the website, but I got a heck of a lot more than 18 folders in my bag. So don't think that when we hit the 18 that we have to be done. So we're really excited about, continuing this partnership with you guys and getting more and more kids sponsored. So it's just such a great, to me, it's like the perfect ministry. So anybody else? I know church is happening soon.
Just a question, obviously, one of your big turning points is getting to come to the States and living with the Hunters and doing higher education. Are there other stories of people who graduate from the school that also come to the States and live with families?
Yes, there is one who is coming next week on the 20th. There is a young lady, a good friend of Glena, who is sponsoring a young man who is coming to attend CPCC here. And then maybe that will be the second one to do that. But there are other people that would sponsor kids going to college, in Haiti, in Gonaïves or in Port-au-Prince. Like, at First Place of Concord, there is a family who is supporting a young fellow attending engineering school, in Gonaïves. So we got many people who would go beyond elementary school or beyond high school. But we are not really forcing about what I'm going to do it after high school. But if we could get that all the way through 30th grade, that would be very, very, very helpful. I don't know if I am clear enough. Thank you. Yes.
This is probably a question that has a long answer. Perhaps we can learn something from you at another time. But you made a very interesting comment about your students and how you instill in them a moral compass that when they finish their education, they are inspired to come back and serve their communities. We spend a lot of time in this country trying to work with people in underprivileged neighborhoods to educate people, but a lot of people just want to get out and they don't come back and leave. We have something to learn from you. If you are instilling that in your young people, come back and try to make a difference themselves, get back in the community. What do you teach them?
Well, I don't really know what I can tell you how to answer that question, but it is a very wise, very deep. Let me tell you something. I am the third guy to finish 13th grade in my community for 80,000 people. The first one, once he got into Gonaïves from the country, from the mountains, he would never return to Bayonne. After he would leave Gonaïves and go into Port-au-Prince, he would never go back to Gonaïves. From Port-au-Prince, he would go back, he would go to New Jersey. Since then, he had never been back to Port-au-Prince. Even his mom would die, he would send money for the funeral, never come back. Now, the second one did not really do differently. They would not go back. But I think, in my village, I have been the first one for people to finish 13th grade in 1990, just to be there with them all the time. To start teaching there, to encourage young men and women there. Okay? So one thing that I have always said to every class that I would be teaching, that no country could become a good country just by itself. They got people who need to stand up for to make it happen. You want to go to Brazil, to China, to Chile, to France, to Canada, to the USA. There are people working very hard there to make it happen. But we also, if we know how to stand for our own country, I would tell them about the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was living in a great country. He was having a great job. But one day he felt led to go back to his people just to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem that was in bad shape. So I think that we all as people, as Christians, we got to have the spirit of patriotism. We got to love our own country. Not only our neighbors. If you love your neighbors, you do to love the country. What are you telling me about? We got to make the country great enough, big enough, wonderful enough, rich enough, wealthy enough, so that people can come from everywhere just to come to see you. That fleeing the country is good, but it is not that great. We got to know to work for something, to make something different, and then we can do it. It is not easy, but so far, we are all human beings. We could not really ask for more. We are very pleased.
Anybody else have any questions? Probably close to time. Well, I wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming. I know Actionnel, I love being a part of this, I call it, it's a whirlwind tour. It's been really great to hear him speak to all of these different, we've been to different churches every Sunday, and just to be part of the community with you guys and share what's happening at IMA. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and have a sponsorship drive. That's always a plus for us. But to be able to share what's been going on at IMA and how this community is benefiting from your support. So thank you all very, very much. And I hope to see a lot of you at the sponsorship table. And we appreciate it. Thanks, guys.